Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Jack Simpson podcast. On today's episode, we've got on John Nixon. Welcome.
Hiya, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Yourself?
Good, thank you. It has been a long, long day.
Yeah, certainly has after that gym session.
Somebody's had me in the gym and absolutely blasted me.
I don't know about that. I think it was more you on me, if I'm honest. So, got you on the podcast.
Yes.
Came across you on Instagram, as I do majority of my guests. Your story on CMT.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you just want to go into it, explain what CMT is, and then obviously your backstory and whatnot?
Yes, so CMT. It's a funny name, isn't it? CMT. What did you think of CMT when you first heard it? But it's a nasty little disease called Charcot-Marie-Tooth. When people first hear Charcot-Marie-Tooth, they think it's something to do with sharks and sharks' teeth, and it's not. The name Charcot-Marie-Tooth comes from the 3 doctors that first found this disease, diagnosed it.
Keep going.
Yeah, so they were around in the late 1800s, and they found this disease basically, and so it was called Charcot-Marie-Tooth. It was unknown to me. So when I was a child, I was suffering really badly with deformed feet already at 2-3 years old. I was falling over loads, couldn't get the right footwear to wear. I weren't as physically strong as other boys, other kids at my age. And to say that I'm a big football fan, I support Rotherham United. I wouldn't call that being a football fan, but I'm a big football fan from being a child, and I just could not play football. I couldn't keep up with the others, although I did try. Anyway, I went through school suffering. I couldn't run. I'd be like Forrest Gump running, when he got the braces on. It was really embarrassing, to be fair. And I'd have things said to me, but, that and that aside, at 12-year-old, I always remember an old PE teacher of mine, Mr. Binks, and he pulled me up one day and he said, Nixon, he says, we've got to get this sorted out. He says, there's something not right with your feet, your legs, he says, and I understand it. And he says, to be fair to you, you really do try. You give it 100% when you do PE. He says, but you need to get this sorted. I need you to go to the doctors and ask him to sort it. So I remember getting this appointment booked to the doctors, went with my mum, and I sort of said to this doctor, my PE teacher says, you need to sort this. And he threw it back at me and said, the PE teacher's not a doctor. I don't do what he says, etc. Anyway, he referred me to Sheffield Hospital to see a neurologist. Now, at 12-year-old, I didn't know what a neurologist was. And I remember going to this guy's house in a really posh part of Sheffield. I think it was Abbeydale. And went to see this guy, really famous Polish neurologist at the time. Went to his house, it was private, and he had his suspicions that it could be this disease that he'd heard of. And I was sent to hospital. They did a series of nerve conduction tests, which meant I was strapped to a machine. I've got little pins in my skin, and they were doing like a little electrocution test on me to see, what this was. And alongside that, blood tests. And it came back with Charcot-Marie-Tooth. Now, back at the time, in 1992, I was 12 years old. The doctor sat there and told my mum that it was Charcot-Marie-Tooth. She wrote that on a piece of paper, put it in a purse. He gave her some of the side effects and the symptoms, and that was it. He said it would progressively get worse as you get older. He advised not to stay too active, never to weightlift, never to do resistance training. There was a lot of advice like that at the time. But we were still left wondering. And it wasn't like at that point you could go on Google and look for it. Like now, somebody, in fact, you're listening to this, you will probably Google what Charcot-Marie-Tooth is. We didn't have that luxury back at that time. And so it's just something that I lived with. And it was always embarrassing at school. I couldn't explain to people what it was. And I spent my entire life trying to hide it. And you probably think, why did you try and hide it? Why be embarrassed about something that you can't help? And although I do feel like that now, back at the time it was very difficult because I was at school and kids do not have a filter, do they? Like kids say it as it is. And one thing a situation that always resonates in my mind was I was pretty academic at school. I'd win awards like a lot of kids do. And we was in the gymnasium where we had an assembly and awards were coming up, and I kind of knew that something my name was going to get called. And I'll never forget, you couldn't go in with your shoes on. It was one of the old-style gymnasiums. Anyway, my name was called up, and I had to walk on this floor, this wooden floor, and all you could hear when I was walking was thud, 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 and everybody was laughing. You know, and it was an entire school, people laughing. And I remember coming back with my certificate, and there were two people, and I know them very well, and they called me Slug Feet from that day. And, you know, I don't blame them. You know, the kids, that's what kids do. But it stuck, and forever would I try and hide my feet. And, you know, throughout my life, I've tried to hide the way I walk. It's very noticeable. I walk like John Wayne, very bow-legged. My knees stick out when I walk. And that is because of my symptoms from Charcot-Marie-Tooth. It affects my feet extremely. You've probably never seen feet as deformed as mine. And that's what people are seeing on the internet at the minute. Whenever I go to a hospital and, you know, I go and see an orthopedic doctor or surgeon consultant, they fetch everybody in. They fetch all the students in, the other nurses, because everybody wants to have a look at my feet. I'm like a celebrity in hospital, you know, because they are so different. And so, you know, I'm in this situation where, you know, I tried to hide it, and it you know, it gets nigh on impossible for me. And so when you see me on Instagram and you hear me talking about Charcot-Marie-Tooth, what's your initial thoughts of what it is? What's your perception?
So when I was the first video that I saw was your crutches video, and it's something I've never come across before at all. Like I didn't know it existed. Yeah. So yeah, to see it, and obviously you explaining that you've got to look at your, you know, where you're going that day, that week, whatever you're doing on holiday, the surfaces, and all the rest of it like that. It's so it sort of brought it home actually, and a couple of weeks ago, I took the kids to the zoo. Yeah. And my daughter had hurt her knee. So I had to push her around in a wheelchair. Fuck me. Like, round that zoo was not that wheelchair accessible. Like, I was like, I was like, that would never have even registered. Yeah. For me, not going around with the kids. They can run about, do what they want. But because she was so limited. Yeah. And I had to push her around, I was like, fucking, like, this needs sorting out. So I went to the things, but, you know, I was like, it's not good enough, really. Do you know what I mean? And then saw your video, and obviously you were talking about the thing. I was like, do you know what I mean? It's planning and stuff like that for yourself must, you know, it's such a burden for yourself, but you've got to do it. It's just part of your life. And like I was saying to you earlier, like looking back on my life from the podcast and interviewing all the people that I have, like to look back on my upbringing and my life and that, and like I've had it pretty sweet. Do you know what I mean? Like 95% of people do. But just the limitations it puts on yourself, to be honest. And it doesn't stop you in any facet. Like at the gym today, like you smashing it. Like, you know, big weights, we're shifting a lot of tin. It's always pushing. Call me perfect a couple of times, which I'll take. And I wasn't even doing an exercise. So, yeah, but that's my sort of perception of it, I suppose.
Yeah, do you know, like, just to obviously point out that 1 in 2,500 people have CMT, and you probably don't even know, as you've just said, Jack, like, you wouldn't even know it existed, and there's so many people out there and this is why I am being so active in raising awareness of what CMT is, not only because there's a lot of people out there who do not know what it is, and I think that you need to know, because you will come across people that struggle, that say no to things, and you wonder why, or you see that they walk differently, or they're weaker, or one day they can do absolutely loads, and then the next day they can't do anything, and you probably think, why is that? But I also raise awareness because there's a lot of people out there with Charcot-Marie-Tooth who feel very isolated. That's how I felt for many, many years. And, you know, like, they've never seen anybody with Charcot-Marie-Tooth. They think there's only them in the world that's got it. All these people that's not even been diagnosed with it. You know, I had a lad, Anthony Alexander, and he contacted me. He'd seen his ex had seen me on TikTok and got in touch with him and said, you need to see this guy. He's got the same feet as you. He walks like you. He's got the same problems as you. We think you've got what he's got. And he got in touch with me and he said, look, John, you don't know what this means to me. He says, I cannot believe what I'm watching. He says, you're identical to me. and he said like he's had multiple operations, surgery to put his feet right and to do whatever, and they've been operating on him, not even diagnosing him with CMT, which is ridiculous. So he's booked in to see his GP, who's very quickly referred him to see a neurologist. And we know how hard it is to see a GP these days. And he's booked him straight in to see a neurologist, I believe in London. And he keeps me updated all the time. I'm sure he'll be watching this at some point. Cracking lad. And if I can touch people like that and help them, the people with it and the people who don't know what it is, then I am doing something right. But do you know what? It's not always been pink and fluffy for me, because although I'm sat here now and you've been to the gym with me and you've seen that I get stuck in, I don't let it stop me from doing anything, or if it does stop me, I find a way around it. But that wasn't always me. Growing up, I was very active. I swam. Nobody could beat me swimming. When I was at school and the other boys were out doing me running and all that lot, I remember the first time we were going to a swimming pool in comprehensive, and they just could not believe it. I got in and they didn't think Nixon were going to be anywhere, and I blew smoke them. I blew them out of the water, and that's because I'd swam my entire life. Obviously, the impact of the deformed feet doesn't matter in the water, and so I did speed swimming, life saving. I got all my badges, personal survival, loved it. I was like a fish. And, most nights, that's where you would find me, the swimming pool. And I did that, but you get to the wonderful age of 17, 18, and what do you discover? Drink. Back in the late 90s, it was pubs, there was quiz night, karaoke, pool, darts, you name it. There was a night where it involved alcohol. Alcohol and smoking, which I did, is really bad for this disease. So this disease affects your peripheral nerves.
At the time, when you were 18 and you were going to the pubs drinking, smoking, did you know that it was bad for the disease?
No, right. Not at all. Not at all. Like now I do, so keep it to a minimum. I might drink 4 times a year, but no, I didn't. And I suppose you could say I look drunk when I walk now. But I remember being in pubs and people probably thought I was like really gone.
Bastard.
Yeah. And as a consequence, when you're out drinking and smoking, activity, any sort of exercise gets put on the back burner, doesn't it? So I went from being 17, 18 years of age all the way up until being 28 without doing any sort of exercise.
Right.
And it got worse. Like I knew it was getting worse. I was falling over more. I was tripping more, dislocating my knees so my patella would pop. And that's because of the way my body mechanics have aligned now. Because I walk on the outside of my feet, it's pushing my kneecaps out. And so my patella would just pop. And anybody that's ever dislocated the knee, it is an horrendous pain. It's horrid. And so that would happen. And then I had children at 25 years old, got twin girls. And it weren't too bad because I was pushing a pram. And the pram offered me stability. And men who's got CMT, females, will resonate with this. I've put things out on TikTok about this and like, oh God, you're just like me. That's exactly what I went through. But of course, the kids get older and I don't get to use the pram anymore, so I can't push that. And it became very apparent that I wasn't in a good place. And I was seeing friends going to gyms and training. Well, that had never been me. I didn't think I could. I've got CMT. I can't run. Right, so I can't balance properly, I can't stand for long. How on earth could I go in a gym and use a gym? However, I thought I need to be pragmatic about my future. I need to do something about it. I'm in my late 20s and I was in a state. I was unfit, I was unwell, my mental well-being wasn't great. I thought I need to do something. And I'll never forget, I said to my ex-wife, I want to join this gym. But, gets to this gym, they show you around. I know absolutely nothing about it. This guy takes me around. And then he starts talking about protein and creatine. And I'm like, oh my word, what is he on about? And I'll never forget, the next day I thought, right, I'm going to this gym at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was at work at 7:30. Goes into this gym, did not have a Scooby of what I was doing. I was just copying people. I was swinging weights around like I was in a fairground. I must have looked ridiculous. And that's what I did. At morning, I get up, I do the weights, no sort of process, no combination. I wasn't doing anything right, at the time. And I'd do the cardio. And I remember talking to this instructor and said, look, can you give me a bit of guidance? In which he did. And that was 17 years ago. And what I would say is, it's been an amazing journey ever since, because it's self-developing. The education is self-education. It's about watching other people, watching YouTube, looking on Google, reading literature, learning from people by networking and talking, and, being ambiguous, being open to new ideas and new ways of training. But back to the fact, when I started training, I 2 months in, this is the ridiculous thing, I broke my right foot. I'd been on a work night out. I went to get in a taxi, twisted my foot funny because it happens to me. And anyway, I went to bed and had a drink. Got up the next morning, could not put my foot down. It turns out I broke my foot. And the doctor said to me, you cannot go training. And my ex-wife were like, you're not going training. And I said, watch me. Right, and I went training. I got a pot on my leg. I got a friend picking me up, and I was going training. I just weren't working that leg. Now, I thank myself for that now, because if I hadn't carried on going then,
you'd have stopped.
Absolutely. That was a pinnacle point of my life that I knew, and that is what has made me the man I am today. I have got this disease. It is crap. It is nasty. I hate it. I wish I'd not got it. The why me, which I'll go into. However, I've got it to thank, if I'm honest, because it's given me the resilience. I'm motivated. I'm enthusiastic. I'm positive. I look for alternative ways of doing everything in life. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I wake up every single day and have this opportunity to even do anything. Yeah, there's limits. Yeah, it may take me longer, but I am grateful because I'm here on this planet. And this CMT has, it's made me that person. But not only that, like this last 4 or 5 years, I've been online, I've been on Facebook and Instagram, and I've managed to network with hundreds and thousands of people who have got CMT, sharing experiences. We're all at different stages of life also, so different countries, different languages, but we're all in different stages, some young, some older. Some people have seen a lot more than me. Some people are coming for advice. Some people are trying to give me advice. But it's amazing. It's amazing because, 30 years ago, I was isolated. Now, I'm connected to everybody, and I absolutely love it. Like I said, if I can touch and reach out and help people, that gives me more fulfillment than anything, because I've been that person. I know what it's like. And I get parents, contact me and say, my kid's got CMT, they're having it tough at school. Have you got any advice? And I give them the advice around the footwear, the way to handle it, the way to handle what other kids say, and it's great that I can be there for them. And I'm waffling on here, but I was invited. I competed last year. And during this competing for the bodybuilding competition, a neurophysio who works for the NHS around Yorkshire area got in touch with me, Katie Nevin, and she said, would you mind coming on a conference, on a Zoom call for Yorkshire on behalf of the NHS and Muscular Dystrophy UK? And what you're going to be doing is pitching to children and parents with CMT, about keeping active, keeping fit, and how it has benefited you. And I'm like, yeah, do you know what? I would absolutely love that. And I'm in the middle of competing, so I'm in a calorie deficit. I'm obviously really, really tired and drained. I got the world final a couple of days after this call that I was on. And I remember going on it, and on this panel of people, there's me, and then there's a surgeon. So an orthopedic surgeon who now specialises with the children. There's 2 neurophysios. There's an orthotics lady and an occupational health lady. And then there's me. These people, respect them so much. And they did their pitch, and it got round to me. And I'll not lie, I was a little bit nervous. I know that there's 200 odd people watching. Absolutely loved it. I had my 15 minutes talking about a bit about my journey and, why I think it's really important that people keep active, because it is. And, I got that point across, and it was great. And the reason I'm so passionate about keeping active is, just take a look at me now. Yeah, so I was 42 kilograms wet through. I don't know what that is in stones, but 42 kilogram wet through. I was like a rake. I was called chicken legs. Yeah, I was so thin. I looked gone. I looked poorly. I've got photos, and it's scary, to be fair. This is right when my children were born. That's how I gauge it 18 years ago. Now, look at me now. I'm 82 kilogram. I've competed 5 times. I've been to a world final and come second in bodybuilding, disability category. I'm fit. I'm strong. Yeah, struggle to walk, but that's just part of the condition. My mental well-being, my clarity is just unbelievable. It's out of this world. Like, from a career point of view, I excel. I love what I do. The people around me, the family time that I get is quality. The condition causes fatigue and tiredness. Don't get me wrong, it does get me. But I've got more energy now than when I was 18, 20 years old. And I'm 44. That is ridiculous, isn't it? And that's because I put the work in. I go to the gym, I lift the weights, do the cardio, and I put that work in. And hand in hand with that comes the nutrition and the hydration. And I spent, my teenage years, my 20s, eating complete and utter junk. So that'd be pizzas, burgers, chocolate, crisps, sausage rolls, fizzy pop, you name it, it went in with the alcohol. And I look back now and I think, I don't even know how I survived, if I'm honest. Now, like, people think it's boring. It's the bodybuilding diet. And some people would argue against it. I don't think it is. And what it is for me is eating the highly nutritious food that's got the vitamins and the minerals in. I don't find boring at all because it's all I know now. I might have a bit of junk for a cheat meal, but I feel better for it. I feel better. Same with the hydration. I drink 5-6 litres of water a day. I forever use it toilet. You probably see that today. But I keep hydrated. Now, you imagine how dehydrated I were when I was drinking alcohol, drinking fizzy pop, and, like, it was ridiculous. But there's people out there looking for magic pills. Yeah. Everybody wants this magic pill, to make them better, to pull them out of a rut, to make them live longer, probably. There's no better magic pill, there's no better supplement than eating properly, drinking, and keeping fit and active. There just isn't. It's the best medicine in the world, and it is something that I cannot help and share because it has done me the world of wonders. And honestly, I will probably do this until the day that I die. If I can. I've had people contact me on Facebook and on Charcot-Marie-Tooth groups, and they see the pictures of me. Whether there's a bit of jealousy, I don't know. They'll contact me and say, "You're not going to be able to do this forever." And I'm like, you know what? If I cannot lift weights, I can tell you this now, I'll be riding my bike. If I can't ride my bike, I'll be swimming. If I can't swim, I'll crawl to whatever I have to do. There is always a way. It's about being able to adapt. And that, back to your comment earlier, obviously I asked how you'd seen it and interpreted it on Instagram. The crutches. So, yeah, like, you've got crutches, you've got walking aids. I wear orthotic boots, and I probably would not have wanted to have been seen with them orthotic boots on in my 20s, which is ridiculous. It's ironic, isn't it, considering I suffered so bad in my 20s. Now, they are my lifesaver. I can't leave the house without these boots on. The boots, they look hideous. Who cares? They could be pink for all I care. They help me to walk. People may look at them, they may snigger, but it doesn't matter because they're helping me do what I need to do. 2 years ago, I made a decision. I've got 3 French bulldogs who are complete and utter maniacs, as you've seen, and they love walking. They love their walks, and I couldn't take them. Kelly can't. They're too strong for her. So I made a decision to buy a mobility scooter. One of the best choices I've ever made. I've got this scooter. They absolutely love it. I get it out, and I do not care. If I were 25, I'd have been paranoid. Well, what people are going to think about me? I'd be embarrassed. I'm not bothered. I get out. I love being outdoors. I'm an outdoors person. I get to go. I can't go in the woods because the scooter won't, but I get to go outside of the woods. I go over the river. I see every single season. And this is how grateful I am. You know, when you're in the middle of winter, it's crapping, isn't it? You know, it's raining, it's grey, it's cold, but it's enjoyable because it's another part of the year. It's another part of your life. And then you get to spring, like now, and you start seeing the green buds on the trees, the plants, and you know it's like it's refreshing. And then you get later spring and into the summer. And I'm grateful for that because I'm a warm weather man. But I would miss all this because I wouldn't be out with the dogs. The changes that you see are just astronomical. You know, and that's just how thankful that I am. Conversation a few months back, and a guy said to me, he says, "How old are you?" 44. He says, "Right." He says, "When do you think you'll retire?" Well, I think 70-year-old, but I would like to retire when I'm earlier than that, maybe early 60s. So okay then, right. Let's say you get to 60. How many years is that from now? 16 years. Yeah. So when you get to 60, do you think you'll be at full fitness? No, probably not. Do you think you'll be able to go gallivanting around the world? No, probably not. Right. So realistically, then, how many summers have you got left? And I'm like, well, probably 16 summers that I'm at a peak fitness. And even then, you know, because of my feet, it could have declined. So how many Christmases have you got? 16. Anyway, the moral of the story is we're not here forever. And even though I've got this condition, and it's difficult waking up in the morning, you know, I have to get out of bed, stretch. I can't walk barefoot. I have to crawl to the toilet. I have to crawl to get in the shower. I have to get on my bum coming downstairs most of the time. Even standing in the kitchen preparing food is, you know, it's difficult. However, I'm on this planet and I haven't got forever left. In fact, I've probably got less of my life now than what I've had. And so, like, I want to make the most of each day, and that's getting up, enjoying time with family, work. I enjoy my job, training, spending time with people, and helping people now. That is just my thought process the whole time.
Yeah, 100%. Like you're saying, then obviously you're now at a point where you are probably over halfway, you know, through your life. But now because of with age, with everyone, you know, with the maturity that comes, you've said about obviously you're not asked about your boots that you wear, the mobility scooter you have to use. Like that you've enhanced your life with them adaptations that you have and the equipment that you use to make sure that you're living as fulfilled life as you can.
Absolutely.
So these next, you know, 16 years, 18, 20 years, whatever it is, it will mean that you will live life as normal as you can and as close to normity that, you know, us lot, the you know, the 95% of the world that has no issues can walk, you know, hands, feet, everything's fine. Not throwing any shade. But yeah, it's so refreshing to hear you say about obviously your turning point. You know, when you could have not gone to the gym that time, and then that would have been, you know, that would have probably been, oh, that's it for John as the gym, and then you'd have never met this superstar. And yeah, and it's just like, obviously, like I said earlier about in the gym and stuff, it's just such a credit to your character and how you are. And, like, you're such a nice guy, easy to get on with. We were, you know, cracking jokes and stuff like that at the gym. And it's really, really good to see that you don't let this condition determine who you are. Like, you could quite easily just be, you know, like you were, just eating shit, feeling sorry for yourself, just, the world, I'm a victim, the world's against me, and all the rest. And I'm sure you've had times like that.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, it's just so good to see that you're the other side of it. You know, you're going to have your bad days still. Everyone always, you know, everyone does in any aspect of their life. But to see you living the life and, you know, like I say, shifting the tin and getting after it, and, you know, your presence on social media and that now, and your reach to, you know, to stop people feeling so isolated within this condition, it's awesome. It's absolutely amazing. So with the CMT then, once you were diagnosed and stuff, was there any sort of anything put in place at school for you, you know, like during PE or anything like that?
No, is straight answer to that. However, the teacher at the time, Mr. Bings, knew that other people laughed at me when I run. I would call names, and they're not reputable. And he did say to me, "You don't have to do sports day anymore," which I absolutely was so grateful for, because I remember doing that 100-meter run on sports day, and everybody just laughing. It was cruel. I wanted to cry. You know, like, it must have took me 45 seconds to do, if not more, and other lads had done it in 15, 16, 17 seconds. Do you know what's ridiculous though? I'll never understand this. You go through life and you think back, and I couldn't run, but we did cross country, and you could do that in your own time. Which idiot did cross country? Me, right? Because I wanted to be a part of things. God's honest truth. I just wanted to be normal and fit in, and I used to do cross country, and our it's a bit last coming back. It was ridiculous. I'd look for shortcuts, and and I'd probably walk most of it, but I bloody did it.
How funny it is that you say, obviously, you're doing that to fit in now, whereas I would say, for me, I'm always trying to step out. I'm trying to do that weird thing again, like I was talking to you in the gym earlier, about I take things to that extreme where I'll try and work out completely depleted, and then I'll go to jiu-jitsu. And so I'm like, I'll deplete myself at the gym, then I go to jiu-jitsu, and it's like, I want to see how far my body can run on reserve. Just to see, if I've got to, I hope I never have to do it. It's one of the reasons I do jiu-jitsu, and it's one of the reasons a lot of, jiu-jitsu practitioners and martial artists around the world, is that we want to be in that situation so we can control it. But I never want to be in that situation. But if I am in that situation, I want to know that if I am completely depleted, I can still perform. So that's where my sort of maniac theory comes from. And that's sort of my weirdness that I do.
Because nobody's going to invite you. If something's going to happen, they're not going to give you a day warning. Get ready for this. It's just going to happen, isn't it? So you're always going to be ready.
Right, that's the plan.
I like that.
So through school then, obviously as you were going through school, obviously your gym teacher was, aware of it and stuff like that. Did you get in fights much at school?
No.
Or did you sort of...
I stayed clear from fights. I've always been clever in the fact that I can talk. I don't know if you could tell, but I'd sooner diffuse a situation. So I've had a couple of fights, obviously in my early years. Some I won, some I lost. But I did do boxing. I did do it up until being probably 13, 14. Used to try my hand at karate. I was never any good at it, to be fair. And that, like, if you think boxing, you've got to have the stability. It comes from the hips, doesn't it? And I've never had that, so yeah.
All right, okay. So into your sort of day-to-day life then, obviously you said it affects you, with obviously planning your journeys and stuff like that. What would you say to someone that is... I know obviously you said earlier about it affects people differently, and think what advice would you give to someone that's just got that diagnosis and that's going through that, feels that they are alone, and that sort of stuff?
I think the first thing to do is research it. Now that's probably bad advice as well, because you look on Google and you get all the worst commentary that you can ever get. But no, you need to research it first and just understand what it is that's affecting you, and then reach out to medical professionals. And what I mean by that is the neurologist department for me has been insane. It has been great. Now, the neurology doesn't directly deal with this condition. It is a peripheral nerve condition, and I'll give you a bit more detail about that in a bit. But they put me on to the orthotics. They gave me the referral for them. They helped me they gave me some counselling. So that's another department. They are the people that have referred me to orthopedics. They are the people that's referred me to the podiatrist, because me cutting my toenails is really difficult. Imagine diabetic people don't get much feeling and sensation in the feet, and that's exactly how CMT works also. So your feet are constantly numb. You could be cutting your nails and not even know that you're cutting to your skin. So not only is it difficult to get down there, you could be causing yourself infections and all sorts. So speak to your neurologist, get that help or ask for it, reach out, join Facebook groups. There are so many Charcot-Marie-Tooth communities out there that are willing to help. So I am now on the board of advisors for the CMT Association in America. It's based in the USA. They've got a fantastic group on Facebook where people are on that and they share the day-to-day living. They network, they give different advice, or people ask questions on there. And it could be simple little things like travelling. And people will be dead honest. They'll talk to you and advise you. You know, use this transport. You know, think about taxis. Use a car, or it might be around the house. You struggle with situations like even turning a tap on, or opening a door handle, or using knives and forks. Fastening buttons up. I do struggle fastening buttons up because in the same way it affects your hands, and you get the numb feeling. I've got no feeling in my fingertips at the minute, so I struggle with little things like that. But what they do, there is some amazing methods, some little tools that help you, and occupational health can help with that actually. So if you go to neurologists and ask to speak to occupational health, they can put you onto. There's so many different facilities to help you. You don't even know they exist. And that's the thing. You come across situations in your life and you think, oh, it's just me. It's not. There's thousands upon hundreds of thousands of people. And luckily, we live in a culture now where science has progressed. And because science progressed, the technology is getting better. There's lots of little gadgets that can help.
Yeah.
Reach out.
Yeah. So, you're talking about, obviously, we spoke about, just to jump back quickly, about your mobility scooter crutches. Is there any other like equipment that you use or that you found, or even something that, you know, maybe you've adapted yourself to make certain things easier?
No, not really. Not other than when I'm in the house. You know, I have to crawl because I can't walk barefoot. We are going to be in the process of looking at helping me shower. To get in the shower, I have to crawl in. I have to crawl in on my hands and knees, and because I can't stand in the shower at all, it's just undoable. And so what we need to do is get some sort of walk-in shower where I can sit. I'll still have to crawl in, but be able to sit down and get showered in peace because I can't at the minute. It's hard. So,
do you take part in any physical therapy?
Oh yeah, I have a monthly massage, deep tissue massage.
Okay.
I see a guy every 4 weeks, and this could be every 2 weeks, but it is great. So I get a full body massage, but where that benefits me is that when we're doing the work on the legs, because the leg muscles become very tight, this condition affects the peripheral nerves. So it's the message from the brain right down to the muscles through the nerves. And imagine you've got an iPhone charger. iPhone chargers are pathetic at times, aren't they? Like you plug it in and it's not charging, but you wiggle it around and it charges. Well, that's what your nerves are doing in a way. The message from the brain to the muscle is getting lost, and so that's where the muscles don't push and pull properly, and they tighten up. The ligaments, the tendons, the muscles, they tighten, and that's what's causing the foot to pull in like mine has done, and it happens in your hands as well. So what the massage does, it relieves that pressure. When he's doing that, he's working the calves, the quads, the hamstrings, all the way down to the, you know, he's getting into the tendons and the ligaments, and it's loosening it up. And I can honestly say, as much pain that I'm in on a daily basis, when I've had my massage, I walk out like a new man for a day or two.
Yeah, I can imagine so. Like that, just having that deep tissue and getting that, you know, that relaxation in the muscles, definitely. Have you tried any alternative therapies?
No.
No. Straightforward answer.
I've had things suggested to me.
Okay. Like?
So I was in Mallorca, and I'd hired a bike for the week to help me get around for my mobility. And we took it back, and the lady said, "Oh, you look really well. What's up with your feet?" And she says, she could not get her head round. I was so muscly and fit, but there's this problem with my feet. And I explained it to her. She was Spanish, so there wasn't much of a language barrier. But anyway, she suggested to me that I meditate, and that would get rid of it. She said, "You'll come back in a year." And there was a name for this meditation. And she said, "You'll come back in a year and your problems will be cured." And I just agreed to it. Took this piece of paper from her that she, you know, and I was like, yeah, whatever. Meditation ain't going to work.
No, I wouldn't have thought so, to be honest. Are you aware of any research advancements related to CMT treatment?
There's lots of research happening at the minute. I don't get too involved with the scientific side of it, but they are trialling different drugs in different countries. One recently, PXT 3003, I think they called it. A lot of people have used it. Some people have seen improvements, but they pulled the plug on it for now, and I'm not quite sure why. Obviously, there's no known cure for the disease. However, I absolutely believe there will be. I'm an eternal optimist. So, for every cause, there's a solution. Something will come, but not yet.
Right, okay. I had another question off the back of your thingy, but I've forgotten. I'll come back to it when I remember. How has CMT affected your emotional well-being?
Yeah, pretty bad. Yeah. I was bullied as a kid. Hated it. Puts you back in life.
Do you think, though, and as bad as it is, the bullying side of it, do you think that lit the fire inside you that then you were like, I'm not going to be a victim and this is not going to be, the underlying thing that everyone remembers me for?
I think...
in a bad way.
Yeah. So I think it resonates. I think over a period of time, it's been allowed to happen, and then it's built up, and then one day I've just snapped, to be fair. As I think that does happen with people that are in that. It's fight or flight, isn't it? And I look back now and I think there's so many occasions I wish I'd have handled things different. Right from being a child, but if I talk more recently, people stare when I walk, and I used to get very confrontational with people. Whereas now, if somebody's staring, I will walk up to them and I'll say, right, listen, I've got a condition called Charcot-Marie-Tooth. It's a peripheral nerve problem, and it's the message from your brain to your muscles. It's like having an iPhone charger, like I've just said. And then I leave people astounded. And I've learned to deal with that over time. So, yeah. I think you develop a thick skin as well. So, like, what would have really, really hurt me 16 years ago, when I was 16 years of age, wouldn't touch me now. And what I mean by that is, I'm on TikTok. I put pictures of me trying to walk around with barefoot in the gym, got my feet out, would never have done that. Not until this last couple of years. And people comment, and do you know what? They're behind a keyboard. They won't come and say it to my face. I've got you to protect me now. I know that you do jiu-jitsu.
Hey, I'll pop up here anytime you need something sorted.
But they come up with stupid, ridiculous remarks like, you look like you've stood on Lego or on a plug, or you've got muscles growing out your feet, you've got feet on feet. Just like, and do you know what? It would have really killed me when I was in my teenage years. Don't now. Say what you want. In fact, if you're going to say something, make something funny. Like, make it original, because I can't be doing with the same crap over and over again. That just bores me. Stop boring me.
I was just going to say that, actually. Have you come across any that you've been like, that is an absolute treat?
Not yet.
No? Right, I'll have to think of some. So, as you've mentioned about, obviously, your gym, and, we can see how jacked he is. And your medals are on the wall there. They're just out of shot, but I will be taking some photos in it. It's like a shrine to him. Which I'm all about. How did you get into that side of it? Because there's many people that don't have your condition. Gym goers like myself. I have no aspirations to get on the stage bodybuilding. At what point when you were training did you go, actually, bodybuilding is my thing?
Oh, that is a good question. So, 17 years I've been at it. I think you play at it for a while. I would say since 2015, I've been dead serious. So that's 9 years. I've been really serious. I've upped it a notch. I decided to do an MVQ in nutrition level 3 back at the time. So I learned a lot more. Never knew much about food before that. They just don't teach food properly in school. And so I learned more. And I've been in a culture of where I train in Rotherham. I'm surrounded by people competing. A lot of people do it, you know, a lot of people my age. But I've never felt at that point that I was the person that could get up on stage and do that. Why would I? I can't balance properly. My physique just isn't as good as other people's. And, you know, I can't even lift weights properly. That was my thought process back then. And I met Kelly. So my partner, absolutely amazing girl. And I always remember Kelly saying to me a year into the relationship, you need to share your experience. People need to see it. You don't realise what you do and the adjustments that you make, you can have an impact on people. And I didn't get it. 100% I didn't get it. And so it lit a fuse, I would say. It lit a fire. And I remember looking round and just before we got to COVID, I remember thinking, you know what? I'm going to compete next year. I'm going to do it. And I weren't even half the size of what I am now. And so I'm building myself up. I got fat, really. I weren't muscle. And I thought, I'm going to compete. And then what happens? COVID comes. Gyms close. God's honest truth, it really affected me. It affected everybody. But I became weaker. And I was falling over loads. And it was embarrassing. And I was crying one day. We'd walked Bentley, weren't old. And I fell over loads of times at the lake, and it was horrendous. And anyway, I got through that, and, you know, the gym's opened again, and I thought, I'm going to compete. But we're on the back foot because we're not at gyms. And you know what? You can say things, can't you? You can say, I'm going to win £1 million. You never do. I'm going to earn this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go wherever. And you never do it. People procrastinate. And I thought, I'm going to make this happen. And once I am all in, I am all in. I don't stop. I'm like a little French bulldog. Just keep on going. And that was it. I hired a coach, and there was no stopping me. And if anybody's ever done prep, it is the pits. It is the pits. Now, I'm not going to say it's like being in the trenches in a war. Some people call it that because it's not. But you do it to yourself. You're starving yourself. It's as easy as that. You're having to use loads of energy. You're not eating as much. And it's a privilege to do because there's people in countries, there's people in this country at the minute because of the situation with the cost of living that can't afford to eat or they don't know when the next meal's coming from. I did, but I was starving myself. And that's no good on the peripheral nerves. It's no good for this condition. But I was determined to get on that bloody stage. And I'm off topic, I know, I'll just rattle on. And what I'm going to say to you is, I went through that 23-week prep. Amazing coach, Illy Doc. Somebody's coaching you, and you know your limitations. And I have to, obviously, weather that. But you get to the last 4 weeks, and it is horrendous. And I remember we got to Birmingham, and you do all the peak week and all that lot. And I remember getting up that morning, and I went for my tan, my second coat of tan. And I came back. I took my photos, I'd had my last meal, we packed up, and I grabbed Kelly, and I just cuddled her, and I cried my eyes out. And she says to me, what's up with you silly bugger? And I said, I did it, and I were in bits. Because, I'm tearing up now, because that is how hard it was. I'd not just done a prep, I've took my body, my CMT body, through complete and utter, like, thrill, if you like. But it's excruciating limitations, and I got on stage and I won that day. 4 weeks after, I ended up really poorly. My right foot progressed and turned in. And no, it's nothing to do with weightlifting. The disease will progress no matter what. It won't slow down, it won't speed up, it will do what the hell it wants. All I can do by lifting weights and keeping fit is manage my body. That is it. And that's why I promote it, not because it cures it, but because it helps you to live a better life. And so my right foot turned in, and I couldn't compete for the rest of that year. I got to the finals and I couldn't do it, and I was devastated. I'd gone from like all that work to having it taken away from me. And somebody said to me, look, when these situations happen, it's like you're preparing for something else. You don't understand it now, but imagine you've got a bow and arrow in your hand, and you're pulling the bow back, and you're aiming the arrow, and you're aiming for that target, and that's what you're doing now. You're pulling back. She says, and when your body's ready, you'll let go and you'll hit the target. 100% right. That is what happened. It gave me another layer of motivation another level of discipline. And I was determined. And bearing in mind, life is twice as hard. After what happened with my foot, life was twice as hard, and I still found a way. I still found a way to get on stage and do it all over again. Must be psychotic.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in the shape, obviously, like we've got a picture, a few pictures knocking about the room. Like the shape you're in is insane. I mean, you're not, small fella now, and you can see that you lift. So when you had that setback and you with your foot, what was that like? Like, how was your? So I suppose how was your mental health then? Like, was there any point at which you were like, that's it now, or were you so set in your ways that you were like, this is just a minor distraction, not minor, but this is just a bump in the road. Once we get past this, we're looking to the future.
Bit of everything. Okay, so initially the pain was horrendous. Like, I've never had pain like it. You get cramp in the night in your leg, and you get out of bed and you stretch your leg out. Well, that's what the pain was. It was cramp, constant. Just couldn't get rid of it. Went to the A&E 3 times. They didn't know what it was. You go to the A&E and they see your feet. Oh, what's up with your foot? I've got CMT. So they Google it. Then they start telling you what CMT is, and I'm like, I know what CMT is. That's another story. And I'd gone through all that pain, so I didn't have time to think what was going to happen. And gradually, they gave me different painkillers, cocodamol, and all these other things. And I just remember being I was in that much pain. Anyway, I had to have time off work. I'd not had a day off work in the best part of 23 years. That is the honest truth. And I had to take a week off work, and I was absolutely devastated. And my area manager's like, well, don't worry about it. We're here to support you. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not me. It just isn't. I don't stop. I don't get defeated. And it really hurt. And when I came out of the pain sort of went, I'm like, maybe I can compete again. Maybe I could get to the British finals in October, which I were invited to. And people around me saying, John, don't be stupid. So I'm right, yeah, back at gym, back to work. Anyway, like, I remember getting home one night and sat on settee, and I've got a pain in my back. And I said to Kelly, something's twinging. When you stretch it, it just won't go. Gets up next morning, Kelly's going away for the weekend to Saffron Walden in Essex. And I couldn't move. And I'm like, you need to go. You've got it planned, just go. So I'm working next day. I couldn't get off settee. I'm in pain all night. I've got my shorts and my T-shirt on, and I've not slept. Dogs have pissed off upstairs, left me to it, little shits. And I'm in pain. And I managed to put my shoes on, my boots, and I went to work that morning at 6:30, and I managed to put a top on, and I got shorts on, and like the girls knew straight away, what's up with you? I'm not well, my back's, I don't know what I've done to it. It was spasming, it were horrendous. And I'm stood, and I'm thinking, I'll get through this. And this is just, I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have even gone. But this is my, like, mindset. Just keep pushing. And it got worse, and I couldn't even get out of work. Anyway, I managed to get home. Long story short, my in-laws took me to hospital. And they knew I were in a lot of pain. I've lost loads of weight at this point because I've finished prep, haven't I? So I'm not the guy that you see now. I'm like really thin, and my body's probably not on point. The immune system's probably not good, and I'm in this full A&E, and there's people in A&E with nothing wrong with them, and I'm there, I'm screaming, I'm writhing around in pain in a wheelchair, and anyway. They get me through, and I'm screaming at this point. They put me in a chair, and I'm like, and they come to me and say, "What can we do for you?" I says, "I need something to relax my muscle." And they get me diazepam and one of the other strong painkillers. And I'll never forget, like, I was hallucinating. It's 4 o'clock in the morning in Sheffield, and there's people. I'm seeing people working on roof and stuff. They're not. There's nobody there. It's just that's what the drugs did. And finally, at 10 o'clock the next morning, I was in hospital for the best part of 18 hours. And then the next morning, the nurse came. There'd been a change of personnel. She said, right, we're going to get you blood tests. So she did some blood tests because we're worried it could be your kidneys. It's your back. Yeah, blood tests come back fine. So we want to get you in a scanner. So I go for a scan. And they want me to lay down. Well, I've not laid down for 3 days because of this. So they were like, look, don't worry, the drugs will work. So I managed to lay down and come back. Anyway, she went, right, yeah, we don't know what's up with your back. She says, but you've got pneumonia. Well, me and my father-in-law just burst out laughing. Pneumonia? Yeah. Anyway, they sent me home, and to this day, I do not know why I was in so much pain with my back, but it was pneumonia I got. Anyway, they gave me medication for pneumonia, and lo and behold, a week after, I couldn't breathe. I got all the symptoms, but I carried on. I carried on going to work, and I got through it. But, that resilience, I knew then. I thought, you know what, John, you've got through this, you will get through anything. 100%.
Do you have any idea where the pneumonia came from?
No. None at all.
Okay, a strange one.
The people had their right suspicions. It all boils down to the jabs from COVID. People kept saying, have you had your COVID jabs? Yeah. Whether it were or not, I couldn't tell you, but...
How was COVID for you? Obviously, you said about the gym shutting and stuff like that. How did you get on with COVID?
Well, I carried on working, so we never shut, which I was very grateful for. So, all you people that had all that time off in that sun, wow. But yeah, I was grateful for that. But I worked out in the garden, right? Do you know, it all comes back, doesn't it? We'd moved to this house, and we've got a lovely green lawn. The dogs have ruined that now. But I was doing bodyweight. Yeah, they've absolutely destroyed it.
I love it how you just putting that in there. Just going out to everyone.
If anybody wants free Frenchies. But yeah, I was doing bodyweight exercise in the garden every day. No word of a lie. The press-ups, the sit-ups. I was standing on handstands against the wall doing shoulder presses. I'd got a weight. It was a 20-kilogram brick weight, right? And I was using that. I'd got an hammer going for it. It got like a handle on it, and I put an hammer through it, and I've been doing my bicep curls. I've been doing pull-ups on the shed door. I carried on. I got bands, resistance bands, and you know when they're selling resistance bands on Amazon and like QVC channel, and you see like Mr. J Cutler, Mr. Olympia, and he's using these resistance bands. I can tell you now that's not how it works, because they didn't make me bigger. I tried everything, but I did. I carried on, and then in the second lockdown, which was the November time, I think it was, I managed to accrue some gym equipment. I went and bought a couple of dumbbells, because the prices went up, didn't they? So I managed to get some dumbbells, a bench, and a very kind guy who walks the dog near me told me he got a multi-gym, so he gave it me. So I put it in the garage, and that was better.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if he's not using it, you're definitely going to put it to use. So... Looking forward then, now, how does life look going forward? As you said, the disease, CMT is going to continue to progress and get worse and worse. So what does that look like for you?
I've got surgery imminent, but I see a specialist on the 8th of April in Sheffield, and he specialises in feet. There's two of the country's best feet surgeons in Sheffield, I'm told. So I've been referred to there. I could have been operated on beginning of this year. Based on other advice from other health professionals, I asked for the referral. So it's probably put it back 12 months, but that's fine. I'm expecting that at some point next year I have surgery, corrective surgery. It'll be surgery on each feet, at least one operation on each foot, where they will break the feet in several places because my foot it's very highly arched. So they'll do that to flatten it out. They want to fetch it into a neutral position because it's turned inwards. They want to fetch it neutral, put heel plates in, ligament and tendon lengthen. So they will take the tissue from somewhere else to lengthen that. And I've heard some crazy stories about how they do that. Oh, God, it goes through me. And hopefully, should that go right, I'll be in a position where I'll still have to wear orthotic boots, but my foot, rather than... It's like I'm like a crab at the minute, I guess. But my foot, my dorsiflex will work better. I'll have more of a forward backward rotation, and I'll be able to walk more normal than ever. It'll not be perfect though. I'll be grateful for that.
Why is it took this long for the surgery?
So when it was in my teenage years and I saw the orthopaedic surgeon, Dr. Charcot-Marie-Tooth in Rotherham, he told me that he didn't want to operate because it was too complicated and it could make it worse. He said to me, and I get what he said actually, he said it's a progressive disease. He says, and you can be operated on and then it'll just find its way around. And I want you to imagine, you've got a computer right? And you buy McAfee antivirus software, spyware, and all that lot. But then there's always some clever geek who can come up with some better virus than the software. But then some other geek comes up with a better McAfee, and that's what CMT does. No matter what you do to beat its ass, it finds a way around it, and then you've got to find another way, and that's how I see it. So they couldn't operate at the time because of that, and they operated on my sister. My sister's got it, albeit not as bad, but she was operated on, and it made her worse, in all fairness. Now, the advances in the science, the technology are much better. They do prefer to operate on younger people. The success rate in teenage people is much better than somebody at my age. However, that's probably a mindset thing as well, because I ain't going to be done. I ain't going to be defeated by it. You know, when they've operated on me, it's going to be a shit time. You know, I'm not going to be able to drive. I won't be able to work for a bit. I'll be on medication. I'll be able to train. That'll kill me. But it's that mindset. I will get through it, and I can't run. I can't dance. But do you know what? I'll get a bloody good go after. I look forward to that.
People would be quite surprised to understand that you drive.
Yes.
So how does that? Obviously, you said earlier about having, you know, your numb feet and that.
Yeah.
How does that work?
It's not a problem, in all fairness. People do ask me this online. As long as you tell DVLA, and obviously the health professionals say that you can drive, then that's not an issue. It's funny because when I say numb, it's more to touch. If you was to touch my foot with your finger and I wasn't looking, I've got my eyes closed, I might not know. But let me tell you, this is a ridiculous thing. If I were to stand on a little stone now, it would be excruciating. It is such a weird dilemma. Like I couldn't feel you touch it with a pin. But yeah, if I stand on a stone, oh my God, like I'd jump through the ceiling.
Right. Okay.
No,
it's all right. I have to keep messing about with this with the volume. So with the bodybuilding, are we looking to compete again?
We
going
are.
On?
Yes.
So when are we next looking to get on the stage?
So in 2 years. So not this year, not next. The year after. And the only reason for that is I believe in having a good period to grow, and I believe it should be at least 18 months. There's people that periodically compete, and that's fine. That's up to them. But you need that time. Plus, if I'm operated on next year, then like obviously there's going to be a recovery time. But that's another incentive to get through recovery because I want to be on stage again. Why? Because I love it. It is a thrill. It's hard, but you know, you could say I've done it now. It's under my belt, but it becomes addictive. You never know though. You could get to November this year, and I might want to be at World Final again. I'm not.
So out of your array that you've got here, which one are you most proud of? Not necessarily because of, you know, the actual accolade itself, but the journey that led to that competition and you actually winning it. I'm
most proud of the first competition that I entered and won, 100%, and it's just a pure raw emotion. Never been through it. It was the whole fact that I never believed I could get on stage. So to do that and go through that the first time was sensational. Without a shadow of a doubt. The other competitions have been great. They really have. You know, I won a pro card in the NFM, which was a fantastic day, and never did I believe that I could get a pro card. And some people would argue it's not IFBB Pro. No, it's not. But that's because IFBB Pro do not do a pro card for mixed disability. So I've got the next best thing, which would be that. And the PCA, which I competed in, they don't do a pro card for mixed disability either. So would have been nice if I was good enough to win it, obviously. But yeah, the first competition, just purely, you know, that morning where I cried to Kelly, that tells you everything.
So just talk us through it on you know, at your first meet. Is it called a meet? Or just first show?
The show, yeah.
First show.
Yeah,
so your first show. That's how non-bodybuilder I am. So at the first show, then, what were your sort of expectations for the show as a whole, and what did you think would be an issue that then wasn't?
I mean, the expectations was that obviously you're going to be on stage in front of thousands of people, hundreds, but you know, maybe touching on 1,000 people, and there's going to be some like really world-class athletes there. Very muscular, massive. This was a first timers, by the way, but you know, like just people on a different level, men and women. And I'd never actually been to a bodybuilding show prior to this. I didn't quite get what was going to happen, and the difficulties I thought I was going to have was getting on stage and walking full stop. Struggle walking in front of people. My legs go like jelly, and just being able to do that, you know, and not knowing who I was going to be against either. Because the problem with mixed disability is that mixed disability is exactly what it is. That could be somebody with ADHD. Arguably, is that a physical disability, or it could be somebody with one leg, one arm. It could be Down syndrome. It could be anything. So I didn't quite know who I was going to be competing against or how many. And so when I got there on the day, PCA, very well set up organisation. So they got everything covered. It was slick. They were fantastic with the needs for mobility. Couldn't fault them. They kept us up to date. They understand, not only from a mobility point of view, but they understand that you've been in prep a long time and that your body's had enough and you're tired, you're fatigued. And they're absolutely great. Everything was so slick. And then I remember getting up on stage and the ladies are tanning you, they're patting you down, and they're like, "Are you nervous?" And you're nervous, but build up to it. You're going to be in front of all these people. And I was like, "No, I'm not. I've spent 23 weeks working my goddamn arse off. I am not nervous." But your heart's beating like crazy. And you go out on stage. And I remember Stephen Cassidy, the guy who does the, you know, he's the spokesman. He's the guy that speaks to everybody. And he said to me, he says, "Look," to me and the other guy, he says, "The first people up, get crowd going." And I remember walking out and I'm clapping my hands and I'm lifting my hands up in the air. Come on, come on, come on. And everybody were clapping, everybody were loving it, because, you know, you kind of think, well, I've got a disability, are people going to be as interested? They were, if not more. I think, like, what people do is they encapsulate the fact that you've got me on here now, they understand. And that is great. The empathy that people show is world class, it's phenomenal. Bearing in mind, bodybuilding it's about the perfect body, isn't it? Let's be honest. We've got an imperfect body, right? And people go to see the best of the best. They're clapping you and cheering you on, like they want you to succeed. And, you know, and then the rest takes care of itself. So everything that I thought it would be. Do you know, one of the most amazing things is that, you know, I'm competing in disability class. Arguably, could I beat other people? Maybe. I don't know. I'm humble enough to know that I look all right, but I'm not up at that level. And the great thing was, you wait till the end of the day to get on the stage with all the winners of all the categories, and you're up against some absolute beasts. You know, people who I've seen go on now, and they're just amazing. They become pros. I was there, and particularly when I went to Hull. Hull was one of the last competitions before the British finals, and I won, and it was a fantastic feeling winning that day as well. And I was on stage, and I remember being on stage with a guy called George Osborne who trains in my gym, and he's another level. I look up to the guy. He probably don't know that. And I went next to him, and he looked phenomenal. He's a beast. He's huge. But I was on stage, and I wasn't the best. I was nowhere near the best, but I held my own. Yeah, there were things that weren't as good, but like I looked at my back and I'm like, wow, I actually fit in. Do you know what? That fitting in were brilliant. That was just amazing to be able to do that.
Yeah, to feel part of a team, I think for anyone is a major thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is to feel as that collective. I mean, it's the same when you're in the military, really. Like with that wanting to feel accepted.
Yeah.
Especially like day one, you arrive, you don't know anyone. You're all, you know, green, as they say. You're all, you know, new to it. You don't know what you're doing. Deer in the headlights, very much.
Yeah.
But you click because you have to. You've got, you know, you find who you sort of gel with, who's similar personalities to you. Obviously, you've always got the, you know, the knobheads on your course and stuff. Some people probably thought it was me. Yeah. Which probably was.
He'll fight
to
him.
be fair. No, they're probably right, to be fair, especially a younger me. But it is to be part of a team. It is much. better. It makes you feel better. You know, there's people that you can lean on. There's people that have got, you know, different experiences to you. And in the bodybuilding world, obviously, like you said earlier, the knowledge is power.
It is.
And with that comes, obviously, with yourself, with your training that you do, and coaching and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just an evolution. And it's again, like, for me, you're so inspirational with it because you are a unit. Like, there's no other way to say. Like, you're a big lad, and yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing to see. I'm really glad that you agreed to come on the podcast today. Yeah. It means a hell of a lot for the fans as well.
Yeah.
Have you got any sort of last thoughts to give the fans before we shoot?
Do you know what? I have got a lot of thanks. You know, like you asked earlier, how can people who've just been diagnosed with this, what can they do? Well, you need supportive people in your life, and first and foremost, I've got my partner Kelly. She's amazing. She's so patient with me. You know, when you've got a disability, you need people to support you and be patient, but you don't want them to be overpowering either. Like, that is nothing more annoying. You probably think, well, what do we do? It's just having that etiquette to know. But my family are great. My family and the in-laws, the people, my company who I work for Screwfix, absolutely phenomenal. And you could say it's a basic human need to be supported, right? But they're not. They're the next level. And I really do appreciate that. I'm in a community of people that's obviously got disabilities. We've competed against each other, or, we're all in that sort of competition thing. We all support each other as well. There is a bit of bitching goes off, that naturally, but we all do support each other, and we're all there for each other, and it is fantastic. To have that network is great. I've then got like support from a network of CMT people. So a lot of people in the United Kingdom, but over in the United States is unbelievable. And I've been invited at some point to go over to their summer camp that they do with their youths. And obviously the children and teenagers with CMT, they feel isolated as well. So they do summer camps with activities that they can do. And I've been invited to one day go over there. And hopefully I get to do that. It's all about timing and obviously finances and whatnot. But I absolutely want to be able to do that and go and spend time over there. There's so many people I want to meet. I've seen them on a Teams call and whatever else. And I will one day, because if it wasn't for them people, I might be here now and be an inspiration and motivational to people. But I'm working off a platform. I'm working off a platform of these people who dedicate their spare time to promoting platforms for people with CMT, like you're doing now. So for people that don't know, we're on this podcast now, so it's a Saturday. I've been to work this morning, and Jack wanted to organise this, and I've made him wait till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He's weekend off, bless him. And he's come up and he wanted to train as well at Ultraflex Gym in Rotherham, which is an amazing gym. Probably the best in the country, I would say. I don't know what your thoughts are, but
yeah, I mean, it's the best gym I've ever been in. Yeah, definitely.
What Kuba does with that gym is next level, and he's come and trained with me. We've done a session that's took a long time. There's a lot on it, and we've then come to my house, and it's late. It's gone past 8 o'clock now.
Yeah. Quarter past.
Yeah, and you know what, mate? You've got me on here, and this is the kind of support. It's next level. But for you to do that in your own time as well, I think it's just amazing to have that opportunity. You know when. And what you were saying to me earlier, you told some friends that you were coming on a podcast. You explained.
Yeah, so I was talking at my leisure centre gym that I go to usually. I was talking to a few of the lads about obviously that I was coming up to see you, and I was telling them a bit about your story. And one of the lads was just like, hey, bold lad, and I was like, yeah. He's like, Northern. I was like, yeah. I was like, he's like, I've got him on TikTok, and I was like, oh, okay. He's like, what? And you're interviewing him? And I was like, yeah, like he's just a guy. Like do you know what I mean? He's just a guy. And it did hit me like a little bit that I was just like, hang about, like he knows of him, which all the devices, everyone's, cooking on their phones constantly. Yeah, and it was just like, oh, it's cool that I'm interviewing someone that already that my mate knows about, off the back of just him knowing about you.
Small world, mate.
It's crazy.
But that's the level of reach, isn't it? And doing something like this, if this only helps like 10 people, do you know what? That's 10 people that we wouldn't have helped. So I thank you for that incredibly.
Absolutely,
Does
my
anybody ever
pleasure.
ask you questions? You know, like, obviously we haven't got time now, but like
We have got time. If I'm in no rush. If you
So,
want to ask me some questions,
absolutely. Like, obviously, I don't know how much of your story gets out there, but obviously talking to you in the gym, and this guy, you know, he's been in the military, you've been in the RAF, haven't you? And one thing that really sticks out for me is you don't do things half-hearted, do you? You take things to the absolute next level, extreme.
Yeah,
but I love it. What? Where does this come from? Why is this your mindset?
the extremeness.
Yeah.
I don't know, to be honest. There's no. I mean, my old man, who seems to get a shout out every podcast. Love you, Dad. He's very much he's very headstrong, like very, very headstrong. So is his dad as well, who was my first guest on the podcast. And he always he died a couple of months after that podcast. And
Right.
I mean, I know my dad's super grateful that we got that. He listens to it all the time. And it's nice for the family. But right up until he died, he did whatever the fuck he liked. Like if he wanted to go off, do it, and he was quite impaired and stuff like that. But yeah, if he could attempt to do it, he would. So I think that side of it definitely comes into it, and also that, especially if someone tells me I can't do that, or you shouldn't do it that way, or you shouldn't do this. Like I was saying to you when I first did the triathlon, which I know people have heard about this, this story before, but I wanted to do it carnivore because I wanted to do it as extreme as I could, really. And like I was saying earlier about, I tried to deplete my body at the gym, then I go jiu-jitsu because then I'm in conflict, and I don't have that. There's no. Obviously, I can tap and we, roll again, all the rest of it. But for me, I'm like, well, what's the point in that? I want to push myself, try as hard as I possibly can, leave no stone unturned, and then I know at the end of the day, I've put in the effort. I've put in all the effort I can, and if I still don't meet the cut, there's some adjustments I need to make. And it's in everything in life, like with this podcast, for example. When I first started the podcast, or lads, that I sort of knew, and in the pub again. This was before I stopped drinking. People got wind that I was doing it. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, people talk. Oh, Jack's going to a podcast. Da, 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 da. And then I get lads going, "What are you doing a podcast for?" Like, you think you're Joe Rogan? No, you think you? And I'm like, look, I'm not doing it to be. If I get to that level, but by all means, by all means. But I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it because I like to talk to people. I feel like I'm pretty easy to get on with. I'm a super curious person by nature, and I think that is probably one of the biggest reasons as well, is just my curiosity. I want to push my body to the limit because I'm curious where that sticking point is, where it becomes detrimental. And as of yet, I keep pushing myself, and my body just keeps reacting and doing it. I mean, like I was saying to you earlier, I work out like I'm 21. Like as you saw, like I push the body and I, get the reps and perfect form, as you were saying. And yeah, it's just I want to try to just be the best that I can be, keep evolving, and it's like that thing, 1% each day, just get that 1% better, and that's how I want to live. Really, I want to keep pushing myself and advancing myself to just see where I can get.
So you know what? It's one of them boring questions, isn't it? But I am curious. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Working out Ultraflex.
Come on, Cooper.
5 years time. I would like this podcast to start getting off the ground, to be honest. Start earning from that. If that's in the cards. If it's not, I'll still do it. Definitely. Competitions in jiu-jitsu. I had my first one last year. I'm doing another one next month. Got gold in that. And yeah, just want to add medals to that. 5 years time, I'd hopefully be I'd like to be purple belt at jiu-jitsu, which I think is definitely within within my capability. That's it, really. Yeah, just keep on working out and get stronger, faster, harder. I mean, the one of the main reasons that I do work out and sort of push myself to these limits as well is the kids. Like I want to, and bad parenting, whatever you want to say. I want to dominate my kids for as long as possible. Like I've got a 14-year-old girl, 7-year-old lad. When my lad's, when he turns 18, 11 years time, I'll be 45, 46 years old. And I want him to be like, fuck, I still can't beat dad.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I want it to be that like my dad is, Tarzan.
I love that.
My dad is like, he's the dad of dads.
Yeah. You're setting that standard.
Forms everyone 100%. And I always say it to him as well. The problem when I've got the kids, and I reiterate it to them quite often, and that like when I'm with the kids, I eat similar to what they have pretty much a lot of the time. They eat pretty well. They have like pesto pasta and a lot of pasta-based dishes, which I don't usually have carbs. But when I've got them, I'm like, I'll just do extra chicken, extra pasta, and I'll just have what they're having. But I'm very aware that I'm then showing them that they can eat what they're eating and still perform how I do. So I always say to them, look, I know Dad has this when you're here, but 90% of the time, I have, I'm having chicken, vegetables, fruit, eggs, cheese, meat, like all the meats. And carbs is like pasta I don't have when I don't have the kids. I don't have rice. I like carbs are just non-existent really in my diet. So I'm always very aware that what I'm eating when I've got them around, I need to make sure that they're understanding that is my cheat meal. That's not what I'm having all the time. But yeah, obviously my lad loves it now. When I first started training, I was 18 stone. Just getting out of breath, running up and down the garden with the lad and that. Now obviously he loves it. We go and play football all the time. I can now show him, this is what you need to do football-wise, and because I'm back into, a resemblance of shape that I can run around for an hour with him. And it's all that. But yeah, the dominance of the kids and that is
good. I think that's one thing that sticks in my mind as well. So, like, I get frustrated with people. They've got absolutely nothing wrong with them. And they don't do anything with their life. But you're my kind of guy. Like, I'm not saying that you've got nothing wrong, because there's always probably little bits. But you absolutely smash everything that you do. You've got the ability. You don't hold back. And look at you. And I think they're really good 5-year plans. And why not? Why won't your podcast take off? I'll tell you something, right? There's people that talk to me and ask me questions. And they're curious, but you hit the nail on the head. Like you really think you're thoughtful in what you're asking, and it from my point of view, that helps get the story across. So you're good at what you do on this, 100%.
Well, I try my best. I always try and research and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, thank you very much. It means
you're
a lot.
Very welcome.
Means a lot. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Do you want to give everyone your socials and whatnot before we shoot?
Yeah. So on Instagram, which I think is your main platform, isn't it?
Yeah, we're starting to introduce TikTok and stuff.
Yeah. So on Instagram, it is John Line Coach, and so that's my handle on there. I am on Facebook, John Nixon. Can't miss me. I think it's there's a big picture in the background of me with my medal from the British final. And TikTok is the new one. I've only been on it since January, and it was a client of mine, Oliver, who suggested I go on that, and he said you don't understand the reach of the people that you're going to help. And he's right. You know what? He's took off immensely. So, and on TikTok, I am called John Line Coach also. So come and join me. Come and watch. It is like a diary of my life. I am like the Sam Sulek, but with CMT.
All right, well, like I said, thank you very much for coming on the podcast today, John. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. It was amazing to work out with you earlier.
Yes, thanks. It will.
And yeah, hope to do it again sometime.
We will. Brill. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you for listening, everybody.
Bye-bye.